Good morning, everybody. So today I'm going to talk about what I feel is probably the most important direction for Irish people. And this, you could really consider what I'm going to talk about today as your purpose in life. And this is the thing that will make you feel satisfied. This is the sort of the thing that will really kind of create a sense of, okay, now I'm in life, I'm living with purpose, I have an intention. And it has this remarkable effect of making everything feel important. And what this really is it's waking up. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to wake up, and especially the importance of waking up for Irish people. And really just what waking up means in general. So just to begin with, like, why would I talk about waking up? I guess the implication of me even sort of suggesting waking up is that everybody is asleep. And that is the reality. We are all asleep. And the reason we're asleep is, another way of putting it is that we don't make our own decisions. The choices that we are choosing are not our own. We are carried along in a kind of a collective dream. Okay. And Irish people in particular are carried along in this collective dream because our conditioning is so strong. We are, um, yeah, we've really had a huge amount of brainwashing done on us. And so this makes it harder for us to just make our own decisions because that brainwashing overrides it. That's the conditioning. Okay. And how this sort of shows up in our lives, it shows up in a very subtle sense that we don't have freedom. You know, you wake up in the morning and you're moving about your tasks and you're doing it with a sense that somebody else, some force outside of yourself is cracking a whip. There's some sort of sense of urgency, there's some sort of sense of stress. It's even just this feeling that I'm moving at a pace that isn't my own. I'm being hurried by something. And this is the dream. This is the collective dream that we're all in. Um, and you notice it, and yeah, you notice it because it feels like the decisions we're making are not our own. We feel like we are trapped in something, and we just don't have calm. We don't feel powerful. We really feel like we're kind of at the mercy. It's a little bit like walking along the edge of the beach when the tide is rolling in and you're skipping out of the water all the time to try and keep your feet dry. This is a little bit like how we're operating. We are moving along with this sense of, oh, at any moment now the water's going to come in and I'm going to get splashed. I have to keep on my toes. In this sort of state, it's very, very difficult to connect to our inner genius and our inner artistry. Now, I know I'm saying a lot of things at the moment, so I'm going to slow down and try and make a little bit more sense of this. Okay, so the first part, just to come back to this idea of the dream, and the dream is really, it's uh, the dream is built on the architecture of culture. So some elements of the dream that you might have noticed that you're caught up in are working very hard, um, or perhaps even another element of the dream is the one where you kind of sort of suffer through a lot of relationships with the belief that this is how relationships are supposed to be. And maybe another part of the dream is all about kind of, you know, saving away money for rainy days. Maybe another part of the dream is sort of, oh, when you're an adult, there's certain things you don't do anymore. I feel that's a big one, and a lot of the information that I'm going to use in this episode of this podcast is really just from the conversations that I have with people. So maybe just try and understand this, that every day of the week I'm talking to people, um, Irish people from all over the world, and they come to me because they reached a point in their life where they go, hold on, I don't really feel like I'm in charge anymore. I don't really feel like I have freedom anymore. And it's not that they've just woken up with this realization. It's been slowly rotting them. It's slowly been eating away at them for a long, long time. And it'll maybe be, as someone who comes to me with this idea that like I've been married to someone for 12 years and I don't love them. And I think the only reason I got married because it felt like the thing to do. Or someone will say, I'm in a job that I hate, but it pays well. Or someone will say, I'm living here in this place and I don't like it. I don't get along with the people. And I've been here for X amount of time and I can't seem to move. So these are all examples of us falling asleep. We are forgetting that we have the power to do whatever we want to do on this planet. Now think about this, right? Just think about the Irish history for a second, okay? And you think about, so Ireland historically experienced probably one of the heaviest colonial systems that this planet has ever seen. All of the kind of the colonial tactics of the British Empire were honed on the island of Ireland. So, and one of the kind of the final and most thorough elements of the colonial system is to remove the individual's freedom from the inside. So it's okay, you can restrict their freedom externally, but then the coup de grace, if you want, is to actually just take away any source of autonomy or independence inside the person. So then you no longer need to use force. This person has kind of already rendered themselves hopeless. And this is something that we have. And I know the description there is kind of dramatic, but you might recognize this yourself. Like, how often are your decisions coming from a place of, this is what my heart wants now, or this is what I should do now? And when we're talking about the should part, that's our conditioning. That's the dream. And that's the part that we want to wake up from, because your only way of really feeling a sense of contentment and happiness, but more than that, your only way of making a significant contribution to the world is to become a person who is sovereign, who is living from their heart. For Irish people, this is more difficult than most, because we've never been encouraged to live this way. The messaging, the big messaging that Irish people receive through our school system, through our culture, and through our media is behave yourself. And behave yourself is really harness your independence, tame your wildness, shut up and keep your eyes down. And this, we can look at it collectively, but we can also begin to experience it personally. We can begin to see it in our lives, how we have a tendency towards these dependent relationships, these relationships where we base our happiness upon our partner's happiness. I say it all the time, I think, in this podcast, but Irish people stay in relationships way too long. We should be breaking up way more often. Um, because we end up staying in these sort of situations where, now of course I'm not encouraging everyone to break up, but I'm encouraging people to really connect to what they actually want. And I think when we do, we realize, hold on, I'm in this thing, I'm in this relationship, I'm in this job, I'm in this place, I'm in this dynamic with my cruel family because I'm behaving myself. I have been trained so well to behave myself that I don't know what else to do. Okay. Just before I go on, I want to just say I have a community, and in my community, we're like about 150 people, and we do a lot of group calls and sort of more intense work on how to wake up. So if this is a subject, if you're listening to this and you're going, okay, this is fascinating, and I actually want to really begin to integrate this. I want to actually learn how to do this. Um, Join the community for a month or something and just see how it goes because that's really where we're doing this sort of work of like liberating people. Um, so how do we wake up? Right? Because it really is another word for it is how do we become liberated? And the only way to wake up, the only way to wake up is to begin to center your attention in your body. Um, and for so many of us as Irish people, right? So if you think about it, if the predominant message growing up is behave, um, that encourages us to always have an eye on other people. Because behavior is all about our relationship to other people. Nobody needs to worry about how they behave when they're on their own. But behavior is all about how do I appear in front of others, right? So, um, one way of beginning to wake up is just taking your energy back. I remember uh, like my poor mother. I always trot her out as examples on this podcast, but she used to always say this thing at Christmas when we would say, "What do you want as your Christmas present?" And my mother would always say, "All I want is for everyone to be happy." Which is again like this, which is just such an example of this conditioning, and it sounds noble. It sounds even beautiful, even to my ears. I go like, "Wow, what a great person!" But ultimately, it's a person who is holding on to this energy of I don't want any wants. I just want to appear good. And I want everyone to be happy and reflect that. There's no sovereignty in that. It's pure dependence. It's pure dreaming, right? And it really is epitomizes what we have. This this bond, this kind of glue that we're all in as Irish people, where we find it so difficult to connect to the deep wants inside of ourselves, the deep wants, which are kind of your signposts. You know what I mean? If you think about this, you are a vehicle, right? Your body is a vehicle. Your soul is timeless. Your soul has been on this planet before it'll be on this planet again. But your body is just a vehicle. Your soul enters the vehicle at birth and it stays in the vehicle until death. And how do you operate the vehicle? You follow the vehicle's wants. You connect to like, the vehicle wants to go here. How do you know what your wants are? They appear to you in intuition, or they appear to you in the form of wild jealousy. When you see somebody doing something and you go, I hate that person. It's a secret want alive in you. When it appears in the people you're attracted to in relationships. I know myself for so many years before I could actually connect to my own creativity, I found myself always drawn to artists. Artists. It was always just like, oh, I don't know who this person is. I don't care. All I know is they're an artist and I want to be in their life. And again, this is an example. This is a want. It's a buried want. If we had grown up in societies and cultures where we were taught to be entitled. And I mean entitled in the very positive sense of feeling that you could have absolutely everything. Like the children of the elites. I don't know if you've ever spent any time around the uber wealthy. I have because I'm fascinated by them. And I think I'm fascinated by the sense of freedom that a lot of them have. Now I know there's a whole There's lots of elements of toxicity around them too. But they grow up in these homes with a sense of, I can be whatever I want to be. Of course, there's like a family culture and a conditioning that prevent them, but the need to behave isn't so much. It's more the pressure is like you have to be great. You have to be great and carry on the family line. And the family are kind of established like, hey, we're going to support you financially with whatever you want. All we ask is that it becomes great. Um, I feel to a certain extent I had the opposite where it was we don't care if you're great, just don't get in trouble. You don't have to be smart in school. You don't have to be ambitious. Just don't have teachers telling us that you've been a bad boy. So that's very much just the difference in the cultural conditioning of certain socioeconomic groups. But coming back to the main point, we are waking up is about learning that every single one of us has a spark of creative genius. Now, that doesn't mean that we all become artists, but we all have the ability to do something very new and very beautiful. And this thing that we want to do is 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 very much just connected to us. Um, and this thing that we have that we want to do often leaves us feeling a little bit different. It leaves us feeling like, oh God, I won't fit in. And this these the thing that will help us to wake up is often kind of shrouded in a deep fear of upsetting others. Um, and this really is our hero's journey in life. Our hero's journey is to connect to our bodies, to begin to draw our attention back inside ourselves and realize, okay, this is actually what I want to do. Now, this often begins with just recognizing what you don't want to do. And you wake up in the morning and you might just be aware of it. Well, I don't want to eat this for breakfast. I don't want to get in my car and sit on the M50 and so on and so forth. I don't want to do this. And the dream that we're all in is that you have to do these things. This dream becomes more and more embedded as you start to take on extra elements of the dream structure, as you have children, as you get a mortgage, as you begin to sort of dive deeper and deeper into this. And it doesn't mean that if you have children and have a mortgage that you can't wake up and live a beautiful life. But you have to understand that it will take even more courage. It will take even more courage to wake up. But the way to do it it's not about suddenly throwing everything out of the basket one morning. It's just small details. It's beginning to have the courage to really be yourself. So many of us, we hide who we are, especially in, now I feel quite privileged, although it's a privilege I've worked hard to establish, in that I don't often find myself surrounded by people who I feel too intimidated to be myself with. I'm quite often around people who I feel very much like I can say whatever I want to say to. But a lot of us, we don't. We go into work, maybe even in our relationships, we feel we have to hide parts of ourselves. I'm always having conversations with people who are secret artists, or they have secret beliefs, or they're secret musicians. And our work here is to slowly begin to release these parts of ourselves. And often it can involve, at the beginning, just a huge opt out. Like for me, a big part of my waking up process was just not doing certain things. It began with like I stopped drinking alcohol. I realized that well, alcohol doesn't do anything for me. It certainly doesn't do anything for my capacity to be aware or to feel good. So I stopped drinking, and that was very difficult because everybody else who drank kind of gave me a hard time about it. And if I would go out to meet people and they were drinking, they would all be, "Why are you not drinking? Why are you not drinking?" And even some people were kinda angry at me at this. So, but this was me living my truth. I was trying to be sovereign. And then from there, it went on to other things where, I would kind of just job opportunities would come up and I would turn them down because I would just feel, I don't want this. This isn't going to make me happy. Even though part of the collective dream is you put your happiness on the shelf and you say yes to the money. You always say yes to the money. That's part of the dream. When you wake up, you realize actually money is kind of infinite and my happiness is way more important than money. And if I hold on to this state of happiness and calm, then I become a magnet for money. It just comes to me anyway. This is what I've noticed from my life. I don't have much concerns about money because I know that I'm protected. I know that I'm protected in that I've been doing this for long enough. I've been turning down money for long enough to realize that I'm always protected. It comes to me. Um, and this is waking up. Waking up is also sort of realizing that you can set boundaries with the people around you. You can upset the people around you, and those who really love you will stay. And those who don't, those who have depended upon some sort of manipulative relationship with you, a parasitic relationship, will go away and you will be all the better for it. So, waking up really involves knowing deeply, I don't want this, or I want this, and then having the courage to honor those decisions. And this really is the most important thing for Irish people. You have to understand that we have been conditioned to within an inch of our lives. And I know that a lot of people who listen to this podcast are second, third generation Irish, and you're scattered all around the world. And the conditioning still runs deep in you people. It's still, I myself have lived out of Ireland like the best part of, I think, half of my life. And I've spent most of my time in relationship and developing friendships with people who don't have Irish conditioning. And those people act like a kind of a circus mirror to me. And that I say things and they go, "What do you mean?" And I realize, Jesus, this is my conditioning. Not everybody thinks this way. So our way to really be free and liberated is to begin to just connect to what we really want and what we don't want. And what this means is that this is your purpose then for the rest of your life. You don't need some lofty purpose of I'm going to cure cancer or I'm going to create music or write these books or I'm going to do these things. Your purpose can be very simply to be authentic. And that's a purpose that you can renew every day. And it's a purpose that you get to experiment with the edges with. You get to challenge yourself with that purpose all the time in every interaction. Are you going to give your opinion or are you just going to smile and nod at the person? Are you going to listen to your body or are you going to dive into the collective dream again and override your body? You know, th- I've wanted for a while to do a podcast on sickness in Irish people. We have a lot of sickness. And that sickness, I believe, stems from overriding our bodies. We're not listening to our bodies. Our bodies are these very simple mechanisms. They're simple in that energy flows through our bodies when we're doing what we want. Energy stagnates in our bodies when we're not doing what we want. When that energy stagnates in our bodies for too long, it produces cancer, it produces illness. All of the illness, I know I'm speaking in grand terms here, so I shouldn't say all, but much of the illness in Irish society is from people just not doing what they want, people remaining asleep. So I would encourage you, as much as possible, in every little micro moment, to just connect to what do you actually want And by noticing, this is what I want, you wake up. You come alive inside the movie. You come alive inside the game. You're not just this little Mario character running around starving, chasing mushrooms and little stars and coins. Isn't it Mario chases coins? You become this person who goes, well, hold on. Do I actually give a shit about chasing coins and fighting little dragons and hopping on the back of mushrooms? Maybe I just want to chill. Maybe I just want to go hang out with Luigi and chill. Um, and that's what we're trying to do. I probably could have come up with a better example here than Mario Brothers, but maybe this is highlighting my age and my lack of involvement with contemporary computer game culture. But this is what we are trying to connect with, this idea of inside of you are a series of individual wants and not wants. And that is your instruction manual. Everything else is just bullshit. Everything else is just your conditioning. So connect to your instruction manual. Life becomes simple, scary. Oh, yeah, scary because you're going to have to upset some people and you're going to have to do things on your own. But life becomes so simple when you connect to what you want and what you don't want. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. I feel like I was getting a little bit of wind in my sails towards the end there, and I could have gone on for another 15 minutes, but I think I these podcasts are better when I keep them brief. That's all I wanted to talk about. I have one-on-one sessions coming up uh, this month and next. And typically, like this conversation has sort of, if you uh, if you recognize some of these things in you, then that's kind of like what all my sessions are about. It's about helping people to really do what they want and how to wake up from the dream. Um, and a good way of just beginning to do that is just really, really connecting, becoming a person who's checking in with their body all the time. Do I want to eat this? Do I want to wear this? Do I want to drink this? Do I want to walk here? What do you want to do? All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. I feel like we're on a journey together, and that's beautiful. So take care of yourselves. Slán. Love yous. Bye bye.